Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. It has been one of the best weekends that I've had in a long time. I've definitely learned a lot here in the last few days about myself, about organization, and you'll hear all of that come out here in a bit. So Rock World Cup. I'm going to say this, and folks are going to be like, "Hey, Dark Logos, you're saying this because you're a shield for Howard Brock or something." It's like, no. The best weekend of heroclix you can do if you are serious about competitive heroclix. Better than World Cup. Like, way better than World Cup. Now, I know some people might say it's more lucrative for me to go... I mean, not World Cup. Way better than World Championship. Sorry, I said World Cup. I messed up. But here's the thing. I know there are some people that are like, I can go to the World Championship, play a bunch of battle royales, get swag, and then sell the swag to help pay for my trip. And I mean, I fully understand that. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I just can't, guarantee that I'm going to win that big money. And so the risk of going out to the Rock World Cup is risky. If you could save up to go. Really do go, because there's more than just the final 4K tournament. You still have all the other interactions that just make it worth it. I will say just the last chance super qualifier alone is like shoving 15 rare candies down a Pokemon's throat. You will grow. No matter who you are, you will grow. And you will level up. I don't think anybody would say that last chance Super Q was weak. I even heard people say it was literally the toughest tournament all year. All year. Imagine a field of 70 players, and out of that 70 players, you have like 3 world champions. You have multiple state champions, you have national champions, you have multiple Rock Super Q qualifier champions, regional champions, people that have constantly placed in the top 16 of multiple Rocks, and you're just looking at it like, wow. There's no easy matchup. There is no easy matchup. I went 3-2 and I felt more proud about that 3-2 than anything I've had in a long time. And I know some people might say, like, wow, Dark Logos, that really does say a lot. You didn't even qualify for top 16, and yet you feel that's like a better achievement than everything else that you've done this year. And it's like, yeah. It not trying to detract from placing high in team worlds, but yeah, it's probably my single player highest achievement this year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of recapping for me as a player, and then I'm going to give you some insights that I gathered from this weekend. Pretty much, real briefly, arrive Thursday. I recommend everybody arrive Thursday. Don't arrive Friday. I know some people, let's say, like, but I got to work. Save your vacation time. It's worth it. It's worth it to get there Thursday. Because Friday, starting off, I'm talking to people, and they're like, you want to play test? What are you thinking about? Blah, 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 blah. This, that, and the other, and I'm, and it's breakfast time. I will say this: there's a Kroger across the highway. Eat at the get food from the Kroger. Definitely make sure you get food at the Kroger. Unfortunately, there aren't mini fridges, which sucks. There's a microwave down on the first floor lobby, but that's it. Going into the last chance super qualifier, I learned a lot about myself, mainly the fact that, there are people that come up to me like, "Hey, Dark Logos, thank you." I listened to the Quarry. I listened to Starting Over podcast. Then there's also those people that came up to me, "Hey, Dark Logos, you crapped on my team during the Quarry. What's up, man?" And I did have a moment of humility losing to one such team that I crapped on. So, yeah, I mean, definitely a learning experience. The rock and rolls, personally, I think those help you sort of throw money at trying to get in if you have the time, but you have to earn it. And that part I do sort of respect. But you get tournament points, not rock points, which, they disappear at the end of the tournament. Going into day 2, we hustled and hustled and hustled. We were able to get enough points to get Mace straight into the finals. And I was just like, yeah, here's my rock points. Go straight to the finals, because from a team organizer perspective, it's better for me to have him in the finals. And then at that time, I thought it was just like, oh yeah, straight guaranteed money. But it wasn't. It was better for me to have him in the finals and fresh, ready to go, versus slugging it out through semis and then to the finals and all the other stuff, and having both of us just having enough points for semis and leftover points and so on and so forth. So that required me to play rock and rolls and buy points off of people. That was a learning experience in and of itself, definitely about how much I ended up having to spend to buy rock points. So I definitely think that next year, the rock points are going to be held on to by players a lot more closely. I think that people aren't going to be as charitable, and I think the price per rock point is going to go up, unfortunately. Definitely with the entry point into semis being 100 points. That's a lot of points, and it's really hard for a lot of people to get 100 points. I had technically 2 years of rock points, and I still didn't have 100 points. So I would say if you're always the bridesmaid, never the bride, you're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to get your hygiene game together, hit that gym, learn some seduction tactics or something to get a man, because it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough next year for people to get rock points to qualify into the semifinals, let alone the finals. I think what will happen is, because a lot of pool of rock points sort of just dried up, I do believe, and this is just me personally, I do believe that we're going to see a lot more traveling by certain people. We're going to see individuals just say, hey, you know what? I'm going in, with the full purpose of holding on to my points. And you have to understand, getting 20 rock points for first place, that's what you're getting. You're not getting like, oh, here's 100 rock points. I think they're like shifting over to like, you're getting 20 rock points and you get a auto buy, which means that if you use your rock points any other point during the year for anything else, it has to translate into another Super Q win, or else you're just exchanging 20 rock points for 20 rock points. So the strategies and tactics of playing the meta game of rock has increased. The other thing that I going into, the finals, semifinals, I played Super Scroll, Engineer, Lockjaw, 2 level 7 cards, and Triathlon card. And Mace convinced me at the last minute to replace my Hellcat card with the level 7 card, and then have Iron Man, not M10 Iron Man, the Invincible Iron Man 150 on my team for that 5 points. That was a really good play. That was a really, really good play. And it allowed me to look at the field a lot differently. And even won me a game when my opponent put me on ranks. So that was definitely something to consider. I went 3-1 in semis. I think I got like 12th place or something like that. The next at the murder mystery, if you all watched the video, my table won the murder mystery. And shout out to Scott Crampton, because the murder mystery, I thought, okay, well, this is going to be a little cheesy fun. And it is cheesy fun, but it's like well done cheesy fun. That's the difference. You can see the professionalism of the over dramatic, like the perfect right amount of over dramatic to make it entertaining, but not too much to make it gaudy. So that requires a lot of skill. So that was great. We didn't eat tacos, as you could see from the video. We ate like really, really good food. Really good food. So $5 for a prime rib and chicken pasta and a good salad bar and desserts and green beans and vegetable medley, and mashed potatoes that were really good. You sort of missed out if you didn't go. And it's open to everybody. I know we had some mix-ups on my team. They thought the murder mystery thing was just for people staying in the hotel, but it's for everybody doing rock. So definitely worth it. The final rounds, that was interesting because people brought out different tech than, some people brought out different tech than they did for the Last Chance Super Q. Some people ended up bringing the same tech. What we did learn, let me rephrase this. What I learned personally as a player is I am closer to the higher level players than I've been before, but at the same time, there are some moments, some polished moments, and some tech design moments that I just really need to reconsider. I went with, and folks are going to be like, yep, because he's hella biased, Brainiac Skullship, Indigo Battery, Nurse Construct, Ultron 6, Bulldozer Construct, and Entity on Ultron 6. And the whole concept was, you can't shoot me. You have to get within my range. Once you get within my range, I'm going to power action and punch the fire out of you with the Brainiac ship. And if you don't, I'm going to sit here and eat cities and get stupid strong. And I messed up in the fact that I didn't look for a better replacement for Ultron 6. And that's really it. I didn't look for a better replacement for Ultron 6. And I was too dependent on looking at looking at the fact that I knew everybody was going to put me on some sort of indoor map, that I didn't try to look at other options. Because when I saw Ultron 6, it was the first time that I was just like, yes, that's it. That will allow me to play Brainiac ship. And everybody, of course, went after Ultron 6, and some people succeeded and some people failed. And there was only one person that actually killed my Brainiac ship, and that was Easton Brock. But that was mainly because I messed up early on, and I put my Brainiac ship out there without getting covered by without being covered by the indigo battery because I was afraid that he was going to come out and just like shoot my Ultron 6 from across the map. And that was a mistake. That was a legitimate mistake. So, you learn a lot. You definitely learn a lot. So going through and being knocked out allowed me to go in and commentate on stream. If you watch the stream, you'll see me, with my nice Phoenix Nest tee that you can also get if you check the link below. Shameless plugging. By commentating, I was able to just sit back and just be me and hang out with Ryan Morgan, give him a pee break, allow him to talk with his wife, and not be paralyzed and have blood clots from sitting there watching commentating HeroClix all day. When Kenny Pena got knocked out, he came over and I'm just going to say it honestly, like Kenny is a great commentator, really excellent commentator. And it actually came up with a conversation with Howard and I. It's just that during the final moments of the tournament, Howard and I were talking, and it was just like, I understand people's demand and want for 2 streams, but all the good commentators that you can get are players, and they're going to be playing. And I'm like, Kenny's doing a good job, but do you really wish like bad luck on a person so that someone else can be entertained? Like, that's sort of petty, So there's that, So that's an issue. But sort of coming back, being able to see and commentate Phil and Isaac's game, it really did show you. It really did show you a lot, from tech design to placement, concepts on how to view the meta. But I think a lot of folks, I know some people sort of made fun of Phil and called him Mr. Second Place and other stuff that's really unsettling. But the one thing people forget is that Phil was like Isaac. Phil was raised playing this game. Phil's not that old. Like, Phil's like 19. So you're looking at the time like the game came out, he's playing the game with his dad. And he's grown up playing this game. And Isaac as well is grown up playing this game. And so some people be like, oh my gosh, Phil is a freaking genius. Well, he's had enough time for his brain to formulate around this game. Same thing with Isaac. And I think a lot of people didn't fully understand that, and I didn't really grasp that until on my way back home. That you really did have 2 people that are veterans of this game playing this game in a final match. And regardless of who you wanted to win in the final outcome, it really was a very good game. It just was a lot of disadvantages to Phil for him to overcome. So anyway, it was a good weekend. Had some developments, had some conferences. Didn't get to talk to everybody that I wanted to. Talk to some people I didn't expect I was going to talk to, and hopefully put some positive seeds in some people's brain. Definitely some highlights talking to my man Roni KJS, and we had some good talks. Also sitting there talking to a few other gentlemen before I talked to him about development, and so this is the point where we're going to transition into just some lessons that I learned, and some conversations that I had and that aren't private, that I'm just going to, rehash to you, because I think that the information is essential. The first thing is I found that so many players are slaves to the meta, but they're mostly like younger cats. And the slave to the meta is, this is what everybody is playing, let me play that, or I have to be ready for what everybody's playing. And I understand, I talk about counter meta all the time. I talk about advantages, disadvantages of pieces, this, that, and the other. And I realize now, like, the minor disservice that is, because it makes you think like, okay, this is what I need to do to figure out to win. When before you even get to that stage, you really need to ask yourself the question, what type of player am I? And dig deep to find out what type of player you actually are, instead of trying to say like, oh yeah, the meta does this, so I play that. And the reason I say that is, there are players that will play the meta and be like, I going to play this because this is winning. I play Nick Fury because Nick Fury's winning. But they're not an aggro person. They're not a control person. They're a defensive person. So Nick Fury doesn't work. I'm naturally defensive, as you saw with my Brainiac Skullship tech. But I'm super flexible because of my knowledge base. And you see that in my Super Scroll Engineer tech. So those two things are present in me, but I'm aware of that. I'm able to say I have a wealth of knowledge. I'm going to play this the best way possible. I play my aggro very by the numbers. I play, I kid you not, I play my aggro very by the numbers, okay? So when I see guys and they'll come up to Easton, or they'll come up to Patrick or Paris or whoever else, they'll be like, oh my gosh, you're the greatest guy ever, best player ever. And I mean, I can understand. We're creating, semi-pseudo heroes. I mean, that's what media does. We create semi-pseudo heroes to keep you interested. Okay. And I somewhat feel bad for these guys because they're always walking one step behind their hero, which, if you're talking about you're a kid and you're watching a major league player, I understand that. But you are a competitor to these guys, and if you're always walking their thoughts after them, you're always going to be behind. Always. And that's a problem. That doesn't grow the game. All it does is reinforce what's there. And I know some folks are like, Dark Locos, I don't have time to think about meta, blah, 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 blah. I listen to your show and some other shows, and that allows me to catch up because I can't process this. But before you even, use, my show or The Quarry or Clicks TV or Dial H or whatever else as a basis of making your meta-analysis, do you even know what type of player you are? Are you an aggro player? Are you a shenanigans player? Are you a defensive player? To what degree, forming the magic triangle are you of each? What makes you feel comfortable? What pieces do you naturally gravitate to versus being told to play? And then what does that say about your personality? Extract the concepts and then start building a paradigm to play from. That is foundational. I did that with a bunch of different players last night, and I started to realize, like, a lot of people just don't know who they are. They really don't. No one, and again, yay, theologian sits back navel gazing and all this other stuff. But really, knowing what type of player you are matters. It really does. Like, I had a client who will go unnamed because that's how clientele goes. And he was there at the Rock World Cup. He was able to make it into the final round. Unfortunately, he didn't make it into the top 32, but it felt like a great achievement. He made it into the final round. But I remember in my coaching with him, in my email consulting and stuff, we went back and forth. But eventually, what came out was him, and he was able to combat, through semifinals, and that felt like a really good achievement on my part as a coach, because I didn't make him me. I did not make him me. He went and made some changes that I personally disagreed with, but it worked. And that was him. And that's great. And so I had to think that, sit back and think like, that's interesting. He went with that. All right, that worked. He had these matchups. Cool, great. And so being able to sort of sit back and see a lot of people, and even some people that are successful, they're not them. They're somebody else. And it's a problem. And I think that's maybe one reason in the clicks community, to an extent, we used to hate net decking, but now it's like, oh well, net decking. Because with things on the line, it's no longer an expression. You don't care about expression of self. It becomes more for the acquisition of more things, versus people understanding it's an acquisition of growth and gathering more skill, and that's different. The other thing that kicks in with this meta slave, drive that's kicked in, is the idea of a mathematical approach to heroclix, that you're able to run this, algorithm, and then bam, you come up with the best team. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I saw that a multitude of times through at least 20 people. That they're like, I did the research, I did the numbers, blah, 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 this, that, I get this map, blah, 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 I win. And then all of a sudden, this one thing happens. The one crit hit happens. You don't have a prob, and there's issues. The even more destructive, thing is like, okay, he got a crit hit in knockback. Okay, what do I do now? My numbers tell me that this shouldn't have happened. Now what do I do? And you can even see how some people looked at maps like, yep, this is my map, I win. And some people looked at maps as like, oh, I'm on this map, I auto lost. And experienced players don't do that. They're like, well, here are my disadvantages, here's my advantages. I need to play like so. And once you realize you need to play like whatever, then it's like, oh, okay, there we go. That's it. That's what I need to have. And so it makes the thought process of going through the game a lot better for you. One conversation I had was quite interesting, because it raised up a bunch of dynamics of understanding that some people don't quite have in the game, and I sort of touched on briefly but didn't fully go into. And this is a little raw, because initially when I said it, I was a little bit under delirium of lack of sleep, tired, exhaustion from playing heroclix and commentating in the same day, which, if people don't think commentating is hard and does not exercise the brain, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Okay. There's several levels of looking at the game. The first is a two-dimensional level. That's the length and width of the map. The next is dynamic function of the map. When you look at the map and you realize that the map will change. It's going to change in several ways. First off, you're going to add in objects, or someone's going to add objects. That is going to create more hindering terrain. If you can't calculate for that, then you have a problem. Okay. Next up is you cannot predict specifically what your opponent's going to do in manipulating those 2 or 3 squares of hindering terrain called objects. But you also have to understand, if they put 2 or 3 squares in particular places, then yeah, you could be completely screwed. If you look at how Alex Avila used his 3 objects to prevent barrier from occurring on the OA map on the live stream against the Kyle Rayner Abin Sur team, that was huge. That was huge, because what he said, what he functionally did was say, like, I know you have 2 wall constructs and you can functionally sort of wall me off, but you're not going to direct wall me off. I'm going to make it hard for you to wall me directly off, So that in and of itself is essential, because the Abin Sur team could, functionally just say, like, nope, you're not entering here. I'm going to shoot you, then put my walls back up and then shoot you. And there's nothing you can do. My range is really far, with Kyle at 9. And once I get midfield, then, I can shoot you from the other side, shoot you wherever you're at. Okay. So understanding that, understanding your basic length width, understand walls can be broken down. So you have to watch that. Multi-base figures, understanding that they can draw a line of fire from any of their pieces or any of their squares. Okay. And that matters as well. The implications of hindering terrain and smoke cloud on a character, that matters. All right. The next thing that happens is understanding there's the new added dimension of the sideboard. The sideboard is a active part of the game. It is something that 2 years ago we never thought about. It really wasn't an issue because we were still playing around with split and merge and having infinite sideboard, split and merge. That was the full extent of the sideboard. Now the sideboard is something a lot more dynamic, a lot more interesting for a couple of reasons. First off, the sideboard, anything on the sideboard could possibly be activated in the game. Before you're looking at a build sheet, you don't know which of the 8 figures on his field I'm on his sideboard he's going to bring on the field. And he can bring any number of them in at any time, and being aware of that changes what you have to concentrate on and what you have to account for, because it's not just, oh, I can go here. It's like, oh, I can go here, but if I go here and he goes there, he summons in, Super Duper Man. Super Duper Man can come in hypersonic speed, smack me, still be within 5 squares, and then now I'm sort of screwed. Or, oh wow, if he comes in to this place, summons his Miss Marvel card, Miss Marvel picks up that Ultra Heavy and smacks my guy for 8 or something like that. Probably like 7 because it's Miss Marvel, but you start to see what I'm saying. It's a different type of awareness, and it's almost like you're looking at Star Trek and you're sitting inside of the cafeteria and you're like, I'm hungry, and then the replicator makes you food. The food didn't exist before, but now the food exists. The food exists. It's now, you're eating it. It's in your stomach. And then you're like, food's in my stomach. This is great. Okay. And then it just acts like normal matter. But that's the thing. At any point in time, these characters can be summoned in. And I've learned personally, yeah, you can lose games specifically just due to an ID card placement. So I did find out the ruling on WizKids. They changed the ruling that the ID cards don't have to be the first action that you do at the beginning of the game, but it does have to happen during the beginning of the game. So technically, you can sidestep in leadership independent of summoning an ID card and then put in ID cards. So just a little FYI. So the next little element that comes in is mind to mind. So I was sitting there in the first round of finals playing my new teammate KJ, and I'm looking at his team, and I'm like, okay, well, cool. I sort of know what that's doing, and he's looking at my team like, okay, well, I think I got this because he can't get through these walls if I do this, that, and the other. And then, so he sets up in places and does his cool stuff. And I'm like, well, okay, bust this wall, zip over here, eat this city. And he's like, okay. So he proceeds to move up, do some stuff, move over, boom, eat another city. I have precision strike. And when I moved on the outside of the Deadpool submarine map, because again, special rules are ignored, it created a like, what the heck's going on moment with him. So he backs up. I'm like, cool, zip back around, eat some more cities. And then, he made the fight begin there. But the main thing while he was playing, I was seeing myself like 2 years ago, at Gen Con, and where I was at then, and I was like, oh yeah. Well, last year at Gen Con, technically not 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay, he's playing like how I was playing. So he's most likely going to do this, this, and this other thing. And then he did those things, and I'm like, okay, all right, so I need to do this, this, and this because he's thinking that, that, and that. And so it sort of went down as I was playing it. And so I call this dimension to dimension, where it's mind to mind. You're looking, a skilled player is able to look into the mind of the other opponent and say, all right, I know what you're going to do. Whether it's obvious, whether it's consistent or not, you know what your opponent is going to do. Even if you're losing, you're aware of what your opponent is going to do. And it's sometimes not necessarily what makes the most rational sense either. And so, as I was playing, I was like, okay, these are the following sequence of actions. And I was about 85% correct. Now, some people might say, well, Dark Logos, isn't that derogatory? Because, man, you're saying that you can think people's thoughts and all that other stuff. And then I like to say, yes, you can. But you need experience, and then you need to be observant of people. And if you're observant of people, it will allow you to have a lot more insight in this game than other games. Because here's the situation. People will think like, oh, poker face. You don't need that in heroclix. A poker face is useful in heroclix. It doesn't make sure that you win, because you can't completely ignore how your eyes are looking at the field. You can sort of try to do that glazed over look and then have a wide space and then do as best dynamic vision as you can, but you can't keep that up because your humans have omnivore, predator and prey mindsets into them. You can have wide view, but you can't have a deer's like wide view because they're prey. At the same time, you can focus in, but you can't focus in like a hawk, pure predator. You humans were both predator and prey. We still technically are. Okay, so you have a dynamic view, able to shift from sort of a semi-wide view into a semi-focused view. Even if you really try to focus down on the smallest part, you're still going to get, a bit of a panorama. And if you go really, really wide out, there's still things that are going to stand out that are directly in front of you with your vision. So having, being able to play with your dynamic vision, being able to play with your eyes is important, but it's still, most people aren't watching that. So I can sort of detect if you're looking at like simple math, the angle of their head plus they're concentrating, so they're going to focus down. It tells you specifically the areas of the map that they're looking at. It really does. And some people might say, well, hey, what if I focus? So what? I'm like, I'm just telling you, it's a tell. It's literally a tell. And you can use that for whatever, good or evil you want it to. But it's a tell. The other thing that comes in is when you're taking that moment and building it up, and you're understanding space references of your figures on the map, but just not only the spatial references, but areas of control. And I try to really cover that in topography, by showing you, like, you go here, you have advantages, you go there, you have disadvantages, this, that, and the other. And understanding that in a map, that controlling a lot of space has positives, but it also has negatives. And just because you control a little amount of space, if you control it absolutely, there's sometimes nothing your opponent can do. And in having figures that are able to manipulate terrain on the map, it makes it living a more living game than chess. It makes it a more reenactment of war. So I know this sounds like, wow, this is super abstract of what you're going into, man. And yes, it is on purpose why it is super abstract. But this is sort of my leveling up from this World Championship, World Cup, from the World Cup. I gotta get these, straight. Also, like, just tired from travel, so yeah. I look at where the game is going, and I look at us. We're at this, I would say, this healthy medium where we're not quite where we were, but we're not absurd like Magic, and everybody's having fun, even in the most intense games. I saw disappointment, but no one was like hella pissed. No one was like throwing their clicks on the floor and walking out the room and stuff. Like, everybody was pretty cool. Pretty cool. And so when we're looking at what we're playing down the road and what this is going to impact, I would tell players, if you're saying to yourself, hey, Dark Logos, I am trying to move on up. I'm trying to move into being a better player. What would you tell me to do if I'm aiming for that number one seat, on in the tournament? So this is more me rehashing, some things I said this weekend, and maybe some things I've said before. First off, be you. Understand how you fit in the game. And I understand that the game is not going to be naturally built towards you all the time. Okay? It's just not. There's times in heroclix that I've enjoyed it a lot more. Times I've really not enjoyed it at all. Okay? But in the middle of those times, there's things that come out. It's like, yeah, that's me. Like Brother Voodoo. Like, I mean, I toot my own horn. Called it day one. Day one. Go back, listen to the archives. Like, day one, Brother Voodoo. Tooting that horn so hard. And then sometimes you find things that are not quite you, but are good. Like with me, High Father Wizard. High Father Wizard, Straight Jacket, Split Lip. Blind Owl. What you gonna do when you're locked down? But then it was good. It was a gimmick. It was something different in the middle of a whole lot of everybody running hammers and everything else. Okay. And then the next thing I would tell you is stop idolizing people. Don't idolize me. People come up to me and be like, hey, Dark Logos, listen to the show. I like that. No, I'm not telling people don't talk to me. I'm cool with that. But don't be like, Dark Logos, the undisputed commentator of heroclix. He has omnipotent knowledge of all things that will happen in the game. And when you play him, your chances of winning is 0 because he is Dark Logos. Only other gods of the heroclix players' pantheon may beat Dark Logos. You, the standard player, have absolutely no chance. at all of ever touching his greatness. If you have a mindset of like that, just sit down and get over people in general. Just get over people, because your life will suck, because you're always looking at somebody being greater, better, more, superior, so you can't do anything. That's a problem. And at the same time, if you have this, oh my gosh, I'm sitting across I'm sitting across from Dark Locos. I just put in 3 weeks on my team. I know that this is all he does all day, every day. I know he put in 5 years on this team. It's like 5 years of knowledge on this team. I don't even know how that's possible. There's 5 years of knowledge on this team. What does he have over there? It's a Spider-Man. What does that Spider-Man do? Oh my gosh. That Spider-Man. It's the double web token Spider-Man. He's just going to web token me all day and I won't be able to move and he'll just beat me. That's it. If you are so more hyper paranoid than I am and already fearful, just sit down, get over people. Get over people. I put something on my Facebook and I'm like, Lord, be with me in the presence, prepare a table in the presence of my opponents. And I'm glad where I'm going, I don't have any enemies. That's the mindset that you have to have. No one's going to come in and, cut off parts of your body if you lose a heroclix game. So that would be my next thing. I would tell people, get over these folks. Just get over them. Because I played Easton technically for the first time. I lost, but it was a close game. And even he thought he was going to lose to me. I played Howard. So I've played Patrick. So, I've played a lot of high end players. So at the end of the day, I won or lost. And then I got better and I played somebody else. I played one of the members of 4 Points Gaming Crew. And I'm just like, yep, this is the matchup I didn't want to face, is Grasshopper with Dead Man Resurrection Man. Yep, this is sort of going to suck. Let me see what I can do. Yep, I got 8 cities. KO'd Dead Man Resurrection Man a couple times. Got really close to getting Grasshopper, and then Ultron 6 got killed by an ID card. And there you go. Now, did I say 4 Points Gaming Crew? They're undefeatable. I can't win ever. They're led by the child prodigy and Scott Crampton. Oh my gosh. No. No. And here's the thing. I've played Isaac before and I've lost to Isaac. But I never was like, Isaac's going to beat me. It's more like, okay, cool. I'm playing a kid. I got to be very careful, and at no point in time I can look at him like he's mentally inferior to me. If we're this far into the game and into the tournament, he's a good player. So crush him. Forget that little kid face. Go to crush him. And he doesn't pout or cry. So you have no excuse not to just go and try to crush him. And if he crushes me, he's like, okay. All right, who's next? What's my next game? The other thing that I do appreciate and I've learned is the uniqueness of once you do find who you are and it comes out, a lot of people get afraid real quick. Because you're no longer one of those manufactured like robots. You're like a beast. You're like, and depending on where you're at, you're cub, then you go to that teenager form. And if you last long enough, you become something that's legendary and mythological, and then some, because I had folks asking me, hitting me like, so Dark Logos with your all seeing Odin eye and your super, angelic wings, and then, the divine, lion mouth from which you proclaim your oracles. What is it that's coming? What do you see that's there? And what type of tech should I be thinking about? And half the time I'm like, if I told you, your mind would be blown. And then at the other time, if I don't tell you, you're going to keep pestering me. So if I give you a riddle, you might figure it out, but it'll probably be too late. And then I'll speak like something like this. It'll be like, hey, consider the meta and what everybody is playing recently, and understand people aren't going to deviate too much from that, and look at the rate of change. And then you can predict what's coming. Most people will not interpret that wisely. And they'll just be like, look at the meta and interpret change. And they don't understand how to interpret change. And then it's just like, okay, Dark Logos, I will. And then what'll happen is one day they'll see some rankings. They'll be looking at a bunch of rankings, and then it'll hit them, and they're like, Dark Logos was right. So you take those moments and you roll with it. You become the real you, and then once you become a real you, then folks start getting concerned. Folks start being, they start looking at you on the radar, and that has advantages and disadvantages. You stick out too much, people come gunning for you. That you become a notch on their belt if you lose. If you just roll over some folks, they're going to be like, oh. They're going to be like I was mimicking before. They're like, oh my gosh, I lost. I didn't have a chance. It's not fair. All he does is eat, breathe, sleep, and crap heroclix. I think he pooped out a silver centurion the other day after he ate his bran flakes. Like that's what people think. So the next thing I would say, if you're thinking about Rocktober or anything like else, get a team. Get people behind you. Get people to play test with. Connect. When you go to these events, none of these people are jerks. Like grand, high level jerk wizards, trolls of the utmost, caliber. They're not there really. Now you have some people you don't like. I mean, I've sat in a room and heard people talk about other people, but there's nobody that's really like that trolly in real life. Okay. You can talk to people, be like, hey man, do you want to play a game on Creation Matrix through the email? Do you want to, chill and, take a time to, play a game over Skype or something, one Saturday? Do you want to, just talk about meta through PMs and stuff, and then you can get a lot of people. And I know I end up encountering one gentleman who was a Super Q winner, and he said, he goes to his venue and then there's nobody nobody wants to play meta. The venue's done things pretty much just to like lock him out from getting any sort of prize support whatsoever. And he just wants to play the figures that he bought. And he's trying to stay competitive and trying to stay up on things, but his venue's holding him back. And I'm like, dude, you can play tons of people online. You can go and talk to lots of different people. And understanding that is important. I play with Mace, and I bring up Mace on the show not just because he's like co-captain with me on Phoenix Nest. When I met Mace, I respected him as a player. I saw how he played, and it was good. And we worked together, and he got better. He made me better. I made him better, and we kept getting better. And seeing him at World Cup getting in top 16 is just like lets me know, like, all right, our system works. Needs some tweaks, but our system works for developing people. And even if we use it on each other, and But I realize that if I didn't talk with him, if I didn't talk to Wes or Logan or any other people on the team, heck, even working with Jess, I would be a lot weaker player. And I wouldn't even say like, oh, by 5 or 6%. I would say by 25 to 35%. If I didn't account for how much they've pushed my growth and understanding. Even talking with Jake to an extent at work, it's like, let's blah, 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 this, that. Then he'll come back and is like, nah, that doesn't work. And then I'm be like, well, blah, 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 this, that. Then he'll be like, yes, but that, oh, but we put this thing, then that. Yes, we have something. But blah. And then he's like, no, da, da. And I'm like, aha, this. And then it comes out. And yes, I did just like speak like sim people speak for a bit, but you have people that cultivate you. And, one thing about Phil, and I said it before, like Phil is a man unto himself. He is the excellent individual. He really doesn't, he's not on a team. He really doesn't consult that much with other folks outside of his dad, and that's cool. But at the same time, he shows the fact that somebody else's input could possibly ramp him up. But him by himself is highly successful, but no one ever questions the fact of, if Phil was on Majestics, what would happen? If Phil was on Ragnarok, what would happen? If Phil was on, Team Juggernaut, Phil was on Phoenix Nest, if Phil was in Pusheen, like nobody, really asked themselves these questions. Heck, if Phil was in 4 Points Gaming, like, really? If Phil was in 4 Points Gaming, like, what type of player would he be? He would be able to tell Isaac, the other side of the road once he got older, and Isaac can tell him his new sort of understanding of the game to give him fresh insights. There's a ton of benefits of being on a team. And I interview people all over the world. I shout out to Alejandro, got to meet him for the first time. And he runs all the stuff in Argentina. But just being able to talk to him or Blue Rat, getting some international viewpoints on the meta and what they're playing and what they're thinking, and then sort of taking it back like, wow, they think this. Why is that? They see value in this. How can I extract that? I extract from what they're doing core concepts. Can I cross apply other core concepts? Okay, boom, 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 boom. Okay, I do this. All right, let me take that together and then make something else. And then he comes out and then people are like, wow, I didn't think of that. It's like, dude, Argentinians are thinking like this. The UK is thinking like this. The South Africans are thinking like this. And a lot of times folks will be like, well, they just clone us. And then, yeah, some do. But if you find the people that know who they are and are making original tech, then there's stuff that's brilliant. And folks will be like, but it didn't win. And I'm like, extract core concepts, refine, make it better. Play again. So, anyway, that's the show. I had the preacher in me come out a couple times during World Cup, so that part of me is sort of a bit tired. So he needs sleep, and then the other part of me needs sleep too, but probably water too. Also, if you're going to Atlanta, they like highly fluoride or chlorinate the water. Like, buy bottled water from Kroger. You're going to have to buy bottled water from Kroger. I woke up in the middle of the night. My tongue was dry. My eyes were red. I drank 8 glasses of water, went back to sleep, and usually that'll do it. And then I my tongue got drier. I'm like, no, nope, this does not work. So, Jess got me a big old thing of bottled water, and I drank that. So yeah. All right. So you can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to opine, keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Tell me your thoughts about World Cup, not just the fact that Isaac won, but any other takeaways that you had. Also, what'd you think of my commentary on live stream if you were watching? Really, what'd you think of the commentary overall on live stream? I really want to know. Did you feel the same way I felt about Kenny being on stream, that he did a really good job? Any pointers or whatever, feel free to hit me up on that, or PM me on the Realms at Dark Logos. You can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, the Brainiac ship, they didn't know what hit them. Yeah, so you definitely may have noticed that when I put out, I think last week, that on Twitter, like there was going to be no show, mainly because I was trying to get the stuff together for Rocktober. And then also I learned I can't record at Rocktober because there is no time to record at Rocktober. There's just not. Even doing that one bit of video editing is ridiculous. If, like, you got to understand, when you do a convention, eventually the convention closes, and that's like 5 or 6. So you go eat, then go home and go edit, then go to bed. Rocktober just keeps going. So there's no time for you to like stop, separate yourself from everything, eat, edit, and then go to bed. It's like heroclix, eat, heroclix, eat, heroclix, some event, food, maybe, bed, next day, get up, heroclix, yeah, heroclix, eat, heroclix, okay, I really need to go to the bathroom right now, heroclix, sleep, pass out, because you can't do anything anymore, wake up, is it the final day? Like, so yeah, just heads up on that. If you like to support the show, you can go to the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com, and you can click on the donate button and donate to the show. Everything goes towards making the show. Shout out to Matt Miller and people like you who gave me my the recorder so I could show you everything at Rocktober that I could. Sorry, I couldn't get the last day because I was playing and then I was on stream, and so it just wasn't possible. You didn't want to see like all the aftermath. That's not fun. And you can get yourself a cool Starting Over Podcast t-shirt from the link below from TeePublic, or you can get yourself a cool Phoenix Nest t-shirt. Win, lose, start over. There we go. That's our motto. All right, so I'd like to thank you all for listening to this little bit extended episode. Hopefully I compensated for not recording last week, really, and with this content from Rocktober. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, just give me a like up on the YouTubes. Give me the thumbs up, and feel free to share it with people. So thank you for listening, and remember, we all have to start over sometime.